Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video.
We are more than we are one.
And more importantly, welcome back to Grisha Weekend, Part 2. So if you've not already watched my first video, go and check out the one I posted yesterday that actually has like my brief history of what I've read in the Grishaverse, as well as my reaction to the trailer. And in case it's completely new, just FYI, this is a preparatory weekend for April 23rd where the Shadow and Bone Netflix TV show is premiering. And so in honor of that, plus me finishing the most recent book in the series, Rule of Wolves, which you can go check out my review tomorrow, I decided to go all in. So today's video is pretty much all about the first series and the series that got me into the Grishaverse, and that is the Six of Crows Duology. So before I really get into like the whole discussion and review for the Six of Crows duologies, I actually realized yesterday I didn't even say what I really like about the Grishaverse so much and like what has me so excited about it. So my favorite thing about Leigh Bardugo's The Grishaverse is really the characters. She has some of the best characters that I've read. For the most part, the characters are pretty young, but they all have pretty intense backstories. And personally for me, I actually sort of like mentally age them up a little bit. I think it has some of the best character work. I think their backstories are usually tragic or very compelling, and the way that they sort of deal with those and interact with other characters is just phenomenal. I also think that the political nature and sort of like the geography of the world is really fascinating. You get a lot more of that in King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, whereas Six of Crows is very centralized, but actually still has it actually still has a little bit of political stuff. So yeah, just the political differences and the bias and like the prejudice of the different races and cultures is all super fascinating, as well as the magic. I think the magic is quite fascinating as well. I wanted to quickly say what I liked about the series because I haven't actually done that yet. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my review of the Six of Crows duology, starting with the Six of Crows. Now, a quick backstory to this is I actually did not think I was going to like this series. I've heard a lot about the Grishaverse, more specifically the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and quite frankly, it just seemed really YA to me. I also felt like I heard there was like a pretty big like love triangle plot, and I just wasn't really about any of that, and just the way that the character acts and the love interest, I just didn't really care. But I had heard a lot of things about Six of Crows. Not enough though, because I was so out of the loop when I started Six of Crows that I thought that this had taken place in the same world as the Grishaverse, but like many, many years afterwards. Like for me, what it sounded like is that Shadow and Bones was like fantasy and this was more like steampunk London or something like that. But this only takes place about 3 years after the original trilogy. So for the most part, yes, I was very confused when starting this book. So The Six of Crows is a heist novel, although it is really much more of a character study. We get introduced to quite a few amount of characters, but obviously centers on 6 of them primarily, the 6 crows, and each one of them has a tragic backstory. Like, I'm not even kidding, they each have their own things to deal with. And so the way this actually gets started is they learn that there is a drug called Judaparem that actually affects the Grisha. The term Grisha is actually used in this universe for anyone that has powers. I'm not going to go super in depth into the powers because I'm actually going to save that for a new video I'm posting sometime Sunday. Sunday is going to be my Rule of Wolves and King of Scars review and discussion, but I'm actually going to post one more that's kind of just like a general overview of the series in case you haven't read it in a while or you haven't read it at all. So definitely check that one out if you kind of want more details about what's going on. But anyways, so Judaparem is a drug that is first discovered in this novel, I believe. I don't think it takes place in Shadow and Bones at all, but is a new drug that greatly enhances the powers of these Grisha. And so the Six of Crows are actually paid to go to one of the other countries that has kidnapped or currently has imprisoned the creator of Judaparem. I can't actually 100% remember if he's supposed to be working for them or kidnapped or whatever, but regardless, basically the creator of Judaparem is supposed to be in this other country called Firda, and we are actually currently in Ketterdam. That's where the crows take place. Ketterdam is actually so cool. If you've read Lies of Locke Lamora, Ketterdam is basically that first town in the Lies of Locke Lamora, that first novel. And it is essentially the most passive place. It's the most neutral of all the countries. For the most part, it's a island-locked nation, so there's just not an island lock, it's a water-locked nation, so it's got water all around. They also control the shipping for the most part, I'm pretty sure, between a country to its west and most of the countries are on the east. This is where Ravka, Fjerda, and Shu are. Crows are actually hired to go to Fjerda, who has a very heavy prejudice against Grisha. They basically want to exterminate them. And so along the way, like I said, you pretty much get to know these 6 characters. There is Kazbrecker, who I don't know if I remember all their names. I don't plan on looking them up, but Kazbrecker's name just stands out. He is the leader of the crows. He has a very intense backstory, and I think it's very well thought out and so compelling. He is a master thief. He does a lot of things with like lock picking. He's like the mastermind. He's also ruthless. I really like him, actually. I usually don't like ruthless characters, but I really liked Kazbrecker. His right-hand woman is Inej, I believe, Gafa, maybe. She is called the Wraith, and that is because she's probably the best ghost, the best secret, the best secret stalker. I don't think she normally does too much with assassination. She's more of information gathering. She has a background of like Carnival or something like that. I think she used to be like in a circus with her people. She also has an intense backstory. And so yeah, she is essentially an amazing acrobatics and very sneaky. It actually brings up a lot about how she sort of just like shows up out of nowhere, like nobody knows she's there. And Kaz and Inej, they kind of know, they see each other, and that's one of my favorite pairings right there.
Hey, you two should kiss!
They work very excellently together. The member after that is Nina Zenik. She is one of our Grisha, and her whole thing is actually based around another character, Matthias. Matthias is a Fjerdan, Nina is a Grisha, and if you remember what I told you earlier, those don't get along. So that's definitely where a lot of their story is based around. And lastly, the 2 crows, who I actually didn't really care too much in Six of Crows, but I still think they were definitely really low down there. I didn't care about them, but I was still interested enough in them. I thought oh, they were fine. But that is Waylon and Jesper. Jesper is a sharpshooter, and Waylon is... Oh, what does he do? I don't even remember. He's like a mathematician, I believe. He's pretty smart with numbers and stuff like that. So that is our 6 of Crows. We follow them on this journey. We get a lot of their backstory. She usually weaves in their backstory like within the story. So while they're moving from point A to point B, we kind of get like an intersection of like their backstory. So yeah, there's really not too much more to say about the build-up. I think that the heist is still done really well. I really enjoyed it. But like I said, every step of the way, the character interaction, the character's power, the character's competence is all A++. Like, I really like it. At the time, I actually didn't like it too much. I think I only gave it about 4 stars, but I was pleasantly surprised. Honestly, the reason why I feel so strongly about Six of Crows now is because I finished Crooked Kingdom. I don't think I've read a book where its sequel makes me love the first one so much more. Like, how sometimes you read it like a sequel and it's like, wow, this was so good. Like, this is clearly a 5-star. So the first one I feel like has to be knocked down. It's kind of the opposite. Like, honestly, both of these together, I just feel like it's like a 5-star series. So Crooked Kingdom picks up obviously where we left off from Six of Crows as much as I can without spoilers, but we are dealing with the repercussions from Six of Crows. Some of our characters are still here. A lot of them have changed in very drastic ways, and we are essentially in a fight to basically save our members, but it's so hard to explain without spoilers. But this one, its plot is so intricate because we're not just doing a straight heist. We're trying to save members of the Crows. We're also still trying to get that money. There's a lot of moving elements here. It's actually towards the middle and towards the end, we bring in more people from the Shadow and Bone series. So obviously when I first met them, I was like, are all of you people? Because I did not read the Shadow and Bone series. It really interested me. And when I later picked up King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, I recognized these characters and I was like, oh, I remember these characters and I'm intrigued. So the 2 characters I mentioned in Six of Crows, Waylon and Jesper, they have so much more story here. Like I said, it finally evens out all of the crows. We get awesome backstory for every single one of them. We fully love them and adore them. Like, I don't know what to say. There's not a single crow I like more than the other. Well, technically Matthias isn't my favorite, but him and Nina have like the strongest character growth together, and that's kind of what I want to speak on next. So I can't really talk too much more about the plot and non-spoilers. That was pretty much like everything. Like I said, it's very intriguing plot for the second one. The Six of Crows plot is very, very compelling, very interesting. And so with all these characters and it being YA, you have to wonder, what about the romance? And honestly, I think I was told that the romance should have played a bigger part in Six of Crows, but honestly, there really wasn't much of a romance there. I said there's clearly inklings. We kind of understand that people may have feelings for other people, but it's really more about personal growth. What I really like about the romances and the relationships in the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, it's not just infatuation. In fact, it's almost never about infatuation. It's about understanding one each other and really fitting. Like, these characters really fit and mesh together. Their backstories and how they play off of each other, like, they work. It's like they complement each other. It's very rare you see a book where the romance complements the two main characters, let alone like 6 people or more. So it honestly has my highest praise for some of its romances, because they're not just romances. I more say relationships. I think it has some of the best relationships. 2 people in particular, like I said, the 2 that fight, Matthias and Nina, they really grow and they learn to shred and break down their prejudice of each other's countries. So he said Nina is from Ravka and Matthias is from Fjorda, and they are actually warring against each other. It's probably more prevalent in Shadow and Bones. I know in Shadow and Bones there's like a civil war, I think, for the most part, but it's because they need to protect themselves from the other countries like Fjorda or Shu. Is it Shu or Shuhan? I think it's Shu is just shortened. It's whatever. So yeah, watching Nina and Matthias grow together by destroying their prejudice against each other is really powerful. It's a wonderful relationship. And yeah, and then he said, like, Kaj and Inej, their history is incredible. Like, or their self-reflection and backstory, like, they are broken, poor broken people. If you actually watched a couple of videos ago, I did a tag where it says build your own adventure. It's essentially like, you know how tags go, picking different stuff. And one of them was, who would you want to adopt? And I 100% had to say the Six of Crows. Every single one of them, they are young, they are broken. They would probably kill me for saying that and trying to adopt them and protect them, but I still love them anyways. That is, to me, what stands out about Six of Crows. So like I said, it's got some of the best character development and relationships I've seen. Should I show you? I'm counting. It's got the best character development and characters I've seen. It's got very interesting world building, or like economics of countries not liking each other, which is very realistic. The prejudice is very strong between all these different nations. And at least with Six of Crows, the plot is okay. I mean, the plot takes a pretty big back seat. But then with Six of Crows, I think just all across the board, everything worked for me so well with the intriguing plot, the complexity of what they're trying to do. Honestly, I think I was probably too blinded by the character, because there's some moments where something happens and it may be too easy or maybe not thought out, but honestly, I didn't care. It's just, by that point, you just love the characters so much and think they're just so cool. You just love to see them succeed. It's like, you didn't have to have this like Sherlock Holmes, like plotting out every single thing to get to the victory. It's like, I don't think she probably delves too much into that, but for me, it worked. I felt like I was probably just too excited to see the Crows, lose and then win, and it was really good. So yeah, I feel like I want to keep rambling on and on, because when I first actually read these, I didn't feel like creating a dedicated review for it. I didn't know if I had enough to say, or I didn't know if I could actually, formulate good enough words to explain why I liked it so much. But I mean, whatever. I mean, sometimes you can just get on camera for over 20 minutes and just blab about a book series you really love. So yeah, let me know down below if you have read Crooked Kingdom or Six of Crows, or let me know what your hesitations may be. Let me know if you did it out of order and have read Six of Crows first and not read Shadow and Bones. Because honestly, I'm like an adamant defender that I think you can start with Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom and not actually read Shadow and Bones. I'm going to go into a little bit more of that tomorrow when I go over the King of Scars duology, because I actually have some very interesting defense and backup to not reading the Shadow and Bones series if you want to fully enjoy these last 4 books she's come out with in the series. So yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Like I said, this is Grisha Weekend, so check out my video yesterday for the trailer reaction, and check out both my videos tomorrow where I talk about the King of Scars duology, and then an overview of maybe some needs to know, so you kind of have your feet planted on the ground when you watch the show on April 23rd. So again, thank you so much for watching. All my social media links are down below. Follow me on Twitter, Goodreads, Instagram, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.
She'll realize she has only one equal. There are no others like us, and there never will be.
You have no idea how much larger a role you have to play.